Well, let's talk about it. Listen, yesterday, I think for everyone, was a very emotional day. Obviously, we're going to have to recap, what happened in the moment. And I was very emotional myself. After that game, I literally went to sleep for the rest of the day, and I did not want to be bothered. Now, we have to assess everything today, right? That happened yesterday, and we have to move forward. So here is part of moving forward. Lucas Patrick is on IR. You probably already know that. He got hurt week 1. Dalton yesterday, Riser, left the game with a calf injury. It was questionable return. We don't know how long he's going to be hurt for. We don't know if it's going to be a short-term injury or a long-term injury. We have dealt with calf injuries many times, throughout the years with the Bengals. And sometimes it's sometimes it's whatever. For some reason on PFF, they had him at left tackle, they said. They said the Bengals played him at left tackle. He didn't play at left tackle. He was fully at right guard because that's the position that he was replacing, which was Dalton. So he played 23 total snaps at right guard, and he didn't look good. I mean, he put up a 50.7 offensive grade, 55.9 run blocking, 32.8 pass blocking. Again, we don't know how long he's going to be hurt for. Obviously, moving forward, I think the Bengals are going to continuously go with Jake Browning. I don't think they're going to make a quarterback change based on everything I have seen. Again, maybe that changes. Maybe they completely, 180 that and they say, oh, never mind, we will. But I have not seen anything that they're going to change the quarterback position. And if that's the case, then we're just going to have to rock and roll with Jake Browning and have all the confidence we can. We are taking on the Broncos squad this week that definitely is struggling greatly on offense. Their offense does not look that good. Now, it really helps out offensively when your offense is turning the ball over. But at the end of the day, we had 5 turnovers yesterday. 2 of them were interceptions. The one interception that was a pick six, you guys told me, and I looked back at it, and it looks like the ball was tipped in the end, which caused the interception. So take that for what you want. And obviously, the Jake Browning, it's not his fault that we had 5 fumbles, okay? Chase Brown fumbled it once. We recovered it. We actually technically had, I think, 5 fumbles? Yeah, 5 fumbles total. We recovered that one. And then the other one, Noah Fant, Chase Brown, Samaje Perine as well, fumbled the ball. And again, that's not a fault of Jake Browning. So yesterday there was a lot of, anger, I feel like, from myself and a lot of people about the game. And it's easy to kind of look at it and just point the finger at things, point the finger at Jake Browning every single play. I'm not sitting here saying Jake Browning is the best player ever. No. But I think there was a lot of hatred that was pointed at him yesterday, and I think that was less hatred should have been pointed toward him. I'll say it like that. Zach Taylor still needs to go. I don't know if you thought this was going to be like a 180 video where I'm just like, oh, yeah, and Zach Taylor, I'm sorry. No. Zach Taylor needs to go. Duke Tobin needs to go. The front office needs to go. But I just want to I was really harsh on Jake yesterday. And do I think he should be released after having a night's sleep about it? I don't know if I'd say release him yet, but I would like to see another quarterback get brought in. And, if he's starting to struggle in a game, maybe bring someone else in and give someone else a shot. I don't think they're going to, though. Again, like I said, this is kind of where we made our bed and we're going to try to sleep in it. And knowing the Bengals and covering this team for the last 4 years, it's very obvious what they're going to do. If you're a Bengals fan, you probably have a good general idea of what they're going to do. We're going to win games this year where we barely win those games. We're going to win games this year where we end the season with a decent record of like 9-8 or 8-9, something like that, and maybe 10-7 as well. It's always a possibility. But we're going to go just good enough where you're not going to get rid of Zach Taylor. They're not going to get rid of Duke Tobin. And they're just going to have to scrap this season up to Joe Burrow went down with injury. And that's kind of where I feel like they're going to go. Again, it sucks that we lost Joe Burrow because this was a very promising season, and losing Joe Burrow, it really does suck. Is the season over? Technically, no. We lost one game. And those other teams in the NFL who we thought were going to look really good, and they didn't. At the end of the day, the Brownies beat the Packers. I mean, that's an insane thing to say out loud, but it happened. They beat the Packers, okay? It's any given Sunday, so we're just going to have to get back to work. We're going to have to keep grinding, and we're just going to have to figure things out. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of problems that I don't think will get solved. And that's what scares the living crap out of me. The offensive line yesterday was piss poor. Coaching is piss poor. Quarterback play, piss poor. And again, it's frustrating. It's really just frustrating. I'm hoping things get better. I'm going to have faith that, I'm not going to lie, it's kind of hard to have faith at that point. Because I can't have faith in Zach Taylor. I really can't. I can't have faith in Duke Tobin. I can't have faith in Katie Blackburn. I can't have faith in Jake Browning as much because I think that, again, it's a whole entire issue more than just Jake Browning. Jake Browning is not the only problem. It's the schemes and just overall atmosphere. I feel like with this team at this point, it's the atmosphere. But it is what it is. We're just going to have to keep going. So I'm hopeful that we're going to figure out ways to kind of finesse and win games that we probably shouldn't. I think there's going to be situations where we run into teams that simply are going through crap as well, and I think overall wise, every team, for being honest here, is also going through their own struggles and issues. And like, for example, again, as I mentioned, because we're playing them, the Broncos, they're going through their own issues. And I know, you might want to say, well, they're going to kill us. They're going to kill us. You say that, but then you watch Brandon Perna. Watch That Good Sports, okay? I mean, he keeps saying over and over again, the overthrows by Bo Nix, and it's just a fact at this point. Bo Nix is not looking good this season. He's definitely having a sophomore stump. And then you look at, they have a great defense. Do they have a good defense? Daniel Jones carved them up, right? So there might be a way, that we can kind of finesse this system of we're going to slow down this offense and figure something out. But with having Dalton hurt, that's not going to be easy. With having these injuries, that's not going to be easy to get over and overcome. And that's really another big issue here. But then the question is, what are they going to do, right? Again, I don't have really faith in them, but what can they do? What is the dream scenario here? We all point fingers and say things, this is bad. What could they do, right? Are you going to go out there and trade for Jameis Winston? Well, what if Jameis Winston comes in behind this very piss-poor offensive line and really bad scheming by Zach Taylor? Is he going to be able to fix the wrongdoings? Is he going to, favor any better than, let's say, for example, Jake Browning? And that's definitely one of those, things to think about, I feel like, where it's whatever quarterback we go for. There's people saying, I think ESPN said yesterday, Kirk Cousins. Is Kirk Cousins going to fare any better behind a very piss-poor offensive line and very bad scheme calling? He'll probably be almost the same. And, I think what you really need, and you're not going to get this, obviously, but what you would really need is a quarterback to come in who can call their own plays, scheme their own plays, and be able, I don't say scheme their own plays, but be able to audible at the line of scrimmage, be able to do that kind of stuff, and you have faith in. Again, a very high-end veteran quarterback. You're not going to get that through a trade, right? And so that's really what you need. You need a Joe Burrow. If we're being just straight up honest, you need a Joe Burrow. That's what you need. And you're not going to get that through trading. You're not going to get that right now. But again, it's and then that's another thing. You trade for an offensive lineman. Let's say you go and say, okay, we're going to go trade for this offensive lineman. We're going to give up a draft pick for this offensive lineman. What if that offensive lineman, it really is a schematic issue? It's a scheme issue, not an offensive line issue as much. What do you do then? Well, now you just trade an offensive lineman. You're having the same problems, except now you lost a draft pick. Again, it's frustrating. There's a lot of answers that it's hard to find answers to. There's a lot of questions, and it's hard to find answers to. With Jalen Rivers, again, I think that there's a scenario where hopefully he does work out at right guard, but we find ourselves in this problem a lot. And over the last 4 years covering this team, it's been like this a lot. Is we find ourselves in a situation where we don't have any options. We don't have any, things we can figure out. We have to make it work. We have our back against the wall. Teddy K said yesterday that he had a lot of faith in the end that, this team can bring it together. This team can figure it out. This team can, fix the wrongdoings. And I think to a certain degree, I think this team is going to do everything it can to figure something out. Because at the end of the day, there's people who say we should tank, right? Tank right now, worry about a draft pick, and just tank the rest of the season. I hate to tell you this, but coaches do not tank. GMs do not tank. Because when GMs and coaches tank, they get fired. Okay? That's just how it is. They get fired, they have a bad resume, and then nobody wants to go after them, and nobody wants to sign them. So, at the end of the day, coaches do not tank. Players do not tank, because the last thing you want as a player is to look bad, hit free agency, and now nobody wants to sign you. Usually the tanking comes from up top, Katie Blackburn, Mike Brown, and that's usually for one said player. You tank for one crazy great player, and you're so excited for that play. But then the question is, who is that one player? Usually people tank for a quarterback. There really isn't one guy where you say right now, if we had the number one overall pick, what position are you going to take that's going to fix everything that is a problem right now? What's one position? Your edge rusher? What if the edge rusher doesn't work out? We don't have a good process, a good, history of edge rushers. What if they don't work out? And even if they did, let's say they did, well, what's that going to change? Maybe we get a little bit more pressure on the quarterback. Well, what about our offensive line? You say, well, we're going to take a guard. We're going to take the best guard ever. You don't take a guard first pick overall, by the way. But let's say we did, right? Okay, now we have a guard. We took Mims at pick 17. People are saying he's not working out. Is that one guard going to fix the issue of the left guard? Is that one guard going to fix the issue of the center? Is that one guard going to fix the issue of a backup quarterback because Joe Burrow's hurt? This is not a one-stop gap type of problem. You have to start at the top and work your way down. You got to fire Duke Tobin. You got to fire Zach Taylor. You got to fire the front office. You got to get an actual GM in here who's a real GM, not a player personnel's crap, okay? Not this bull crap that they try to spin on us. Got to get a real GM in here who knows what he's doing, has a track record, and he's going to bring in his own guys. Katie has to step back. Mike Brown has to step back. They have to say, we're going to take our hands off and we're going to let you guys take control. We're going to let you guys bring in your own guys for head coach, bring in your own coordinators and positional coaches, which I still think Al Golden 100% should say. And I think that's what we should do. We should get someone who has a good track record at drafting well, at developing well, and doing that stuff. And then you work your way down. Now you get a new head coach, okay? Now you get an actual offense coordinator. We need an actual offensive coordinator. We can't keep relying on this Zach Taylor head coach OC. Zach Taylor is not Sean McVay. Zach Taylor is not Kyle Shanahan. He's not an offensive mind that is a genius at it. And he can't be a coach and an offensive coordinator. We need an actual offensive coordinator. In all honesty, the Ravens, they got Todd Monken, right? That's their OC. He's going to be up for head coaching job next year. I really wouldn't mind hiring him as head coach. Firing Zach Taylor and hiring Todd Monken as head coach, now you have an actual guy who's a good offensive coordinator. And maybe, yeah, you in the same problem with, head coach OC, but still, that at least is better. If you really want to start at the very, very top, the problem is obviously Mike Brown and the ownership, because they're the ones that refuse to make changes. They're the one that refuse to fix these problems. And until they decide that, they're going to do this stuff, it's never going to get done. So if you start at the very top, that's going to be where the problems lie. And then, again, you could work your way down. But the fact is, we're not going to be able to change the very top with that. So you got to change as much as you can. It sucks because there is, again, more scenarios moving forward we do have to talk about, and they're hard to talk about. But we're 2-1, okay? Season is not lost in that circumstance. The season is still kicking, still going. We just got to get back to work. We got to flush that game down the toilet from last week, and we got to worry about next week. And that's really all you can do in the NFL. You could sit here, you could steal one crap, you could steal one of these games, you could steal one how you feel, but that's not going to fix anything. You have to move on and worry about next week. Now, obviously, after, let's say week 5 or 6, if we're really looking bad, there's going to be talks about trading Trey Hendrickson away, right? And that just makes logical sense at this point. If we're not going to the playoffs, you're going to trade away Trey because you're going to want to get some value for him rather than letting him hit free agency. But at this point, also, if we did lose Trey, we'd get a third-round compensatory pick anyway. But that's a scenario for a later in the season type concept. But again, that's something that, will be talked about at a later date if this doesn't get fixed in some capacity. I don't think Zach's going to get fired midseason. I don't think he's going to get fired before the end of the season. I think he will continuously be our head coach until, Mike Brown and Katie Blackburn and all these guys, I feel like more or less feel so much heat from these, really bad decisions they have made. And yeah, when they finally realize, holy crap, we are not a good team right now. And we're really in the crapper, and people stop going to games and stop caring. That's when I think we're going to see a little bit more of a change. But again, it's one game at a time right now, and it sucks. It really does. But there's other teams also dealing with crap as well. So we're not the only team going through this, but yeah, it is unacceptable, but it is what it is. I said this, and I'll finish off the video with this because I think it is very important to say. At the end of the day, if the Ravens lost Lamar Jackson, the Ravens would look just like this. They would. They wouldn't look good. Cooper Rush would not take them to very successful means at all. If the Chiefs lost Patrick Mahomes, even though Andy Reid is so freaking good, he is, they would still look really, really bad. They would still look like they don't know what the heck they're doing. And same concept with the Bills if they lost Josh Allen. At the end of the day, you lost yourself a franchise quarterback for this season, or at least until like week 13, 14. But if we're not good enough, they're not going to bring him back. And the fact is, when you lose someone like that, you're going to feel this. You're going to suffer. You're going to suffer not having that guy on your team. And that's kind of the situation we're in right now. We're dealing with that same situation that, again, any other team out there would also be dealing with if they lost their franchise quarterback. It's not just us. It's any team you want to mention. You list off any team for the most part, obviously, unless their franchise quarterback's not good. But if their franchise quarterback is good, they're going to suffer if they lost their franchise quarterback. And it's just that it is what it is at the end of the day. So this is what we're dealing with, is something that anybody else in our situation would be dealing with as well. Not trying to give Zach or Duke or any of them a pass or a freebie here, but I think that is also something that needs to be mentioned and talked about and stuff like that. So it sucks. I know this is a long video, but I just wanted to cover all my bases of how I feel, what I'm thinking, my thought process on everything, and it is what it is, man. Shout out to the Vikings. They got the best of us yesterday. And we're just going to have to be better moving forward, and we're just going to have to hope that things get figured out, I've seen this team go through a lot of adversity, and I've seen this team, overcome a lot of adversity. But at the same time, you have to want to. You have to go out there and put, crazy amounts in effort into fixing certain things. And, yeah, it's just going to be tough, man. So you guys, next one.